There is a Bible that most of the Christian world has never seen. Not because it was destroyed, not because it is hidden in a Vatican vault, but because for over 1,500 years, it has been quietly preserved here, in the roof of Africa. While Europe was burning books and debating doctrine, the monks of Ethiopia were doing something radical. They were keeping everything. Their Bible contains 81 books. Yours probably has 66. That is a difference of 15 books. Books that contain details about Jesus that were systematically removed from every other version you have ever read. Imagine if someone told you they had security camera footage of a crime, while everyone else only had witness statements. That is what we are dealing with here. The Ethiopian Bible is the security footage of early Christianity. It reveals a Jesus who is wilder, more human, and more dangerous than the sanitized figure you met in Sunday school. It tells us about his childhood, the tantrums, and the miracles. It names his brothers and sisters. It fills in the blank pages of his lost years. It describes his descent into hell not as a metaphor, but as a prison break, and it connects him to a cosmic history involving fallen angels and giants that the Western Church tried desperately to forget. Why were these texts excluded? Because they didn't fit the narrative of an empire. They didn't serve the need for control. But Ethiopia never bowed to Rome. And because of that, they have the full story. In the next hour, we are going to open the 81 books. We are going to meet the complete Jesus. And once you see him, you can never unsee him. Welcome to the ancient echoes. To understand why this Bible is different, we have to understand the people who kept it. Ethiopia is not just another Christian nation. It is one of the oldest. According to tradition, their church wasn't founded by missionaries in the 19th century. It was founded in the 1st century by the Ethiopian eunuch, baptized by Philip in the Book of Acts. But their roots go even deeper. The Kebra, their national epic, claims that the Ark of the Covenant itself rests in Axum, brought there by Min, the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. This means their connection to the God of Israel predates Christianity by 1,000 years. They didn't need Rome to tell them who God was. They already knew. When the Council of Nicaea met in 325 AD to standardize Christianity for the Roman Empire, Ethiopia wasn't there. They didn't vote. They didn't sign the papers, while the West was obsessed with creating a monolith. One empire, one creed, one Bible. Ethiopia was comfortable with complexity. They saw no need to throw away the Book of Enoch just because it was weird. They saw no need to edit out the human moments of Jesus just because they were messy. Dr. Raphaim Isaac calls the Ethiopian Bible a window into early Christianity before councils standardized doctrine. It is a time capsule, and inside that capsule, we find the first shocking revelation. The boy who would be king. Open your Bible to the Gospels. You get the birth. You get a brief scene at age 12, and then silence until age 30. But in the Ethiopian tradition, utilizing texts like the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, those silence years are loud. They describe a 5-year-old Jesus molding clay sparrows on the Sabbath. When a critic scolds him for working on the holy day, the boy claps his hands, and the clay birds come to life and fly away. It's a beautiful image. But then, the story gets darker. Another child bumps into Jesus while running. Jesus, in a flash of childish irritation, speaks a word, and the child falls dead. Later, he resurrects him. But the picture is clear. This is a child with the power of a god and the emotional regulation of a toddler. Why was this removed? Because the church of the 4th century wanted a Jesus who was perfect from the womb. A Jesus who never had to learn, never made a mistake, never felt rage. But the Ethiopian texts show us the incarnation in real time. They show divinity learning how to drive a human vehicle. They describe him healing his brother James from a viper bite. They describe Mary and Joseph terrified of their own son. This humanizes them. It makes the Holy Family real. It shows that Jesus' perfection wasn't a default setting. It was an achievement. And speaking of family, ... Let's talk about the siblings. The Western Church, obsessed with the idea of Mary's perpetual virginity, turned Jesus' brothers into cousins. But the Ethiopian tradition takes the text at its word. Mark 6:3. Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James, and Hosea's, and of Judah, and Simon, and are not his sisters here with us? These weren't cousins. These were biological siblings, and they matter. James the Just became the leader of the Jerusalem church, not Peter. James was so devout his knees were like camel's skin from praying. But James didn't believe in Jesus at first. Can you imagine the tension at that dinner table? By erasing the siblings, the West erased the context. They turned Jesus into a lonely, singular figure. But the Ethiopian Jesus is embedded in a clan. He is working through family drama. He is converting his own skeptics. It is a messier story, but it is a truer one. Now, let's address the 80-year gap. Where was he? The Ethiopian tradition points to Egypt. We know the Holy Family fled there to escape Herod, but the text suggests the connection didn't end there. Alexandria was the New York City of the ancient world. It was a melting pot of Jewish mystics, the Therapeuti, Greek philosophers, and Egyptian priests. If Jesus studied there, it explains everything. It explains why he came back to Galilee knowing healing techniques that looked like magic. It explains his allegorical teaching style. It explains his radicalism. The Talmud even accuses Jesus of learning magic in Egypt. The church wanted a Jesus whose wisdom was downloaded directly from heaven. They didn't want a Jesus who did his homework. But Ethiopia preserved the memory of the student who became the master. But the biggest piece of the puzzle isn't about Jesus' life. It's about his world. You cannot understand the New Testament without the Book of Enoch. And only Ethiopia kept it. Enoch explains the backstory. It tells us about the Watcher's angels who rebelled, mated with humans, and created a race of giants. It explains that the world isn't just sinful. It is occupied by hostile spiritual forces. When Jesus casts out demons, he isn't just curing mental illness. He is cleaning up the mess the Watchers made. The New Testament quotes Enoch. Jesus calls himself the Son of Man, a title directly from Enoch's prophecies about a pre-existent cosmic judge. Without Enoch, Jesus is a teacher. With Enoch, he is a cosmic warrior returning to reclaim Earth from an alien occupation. The West removed Enoch because it was too weird, too mythical, too hard to control. Ethiopia kept it because they knew it is the key to the map. So, what do we do with this? We have a choice. We can stick with the safe, sanitized Jesus of the Sunday school felt boards, or we can embrace the complete Jesus of the Ethiopian Bible. The human child, the brother, the student, the cosmic liberator. This Jesus is more demanding, but he is also more real. The Ethiopian monks held onto this treasure for 1,500 years, waiting for a time when the world was ready to listen. That time is now. If you want to read these texts for yourself, if you want to join the investigation, the links are below. Do not let the history books decide your truth. Keep seeking.